Welcome to What's Arising. What if life was trying to get your attention and have an intimate, two-way conversation with you, to tell you all its secrets, to guide you out of drama and suffering, to deepen your connection to love, beauty, freedom, joy, and peace? Are you, or would you be willing to open your heart and mind to that conversation with life, to become fluent in the language of life? To pause, listen, learn, and leap into the possibilities as they arise. As you listen to this podcast, I invite you to open your heart and mind to what is arising within you while I share what is arising for me and what I notice arising in the world. As you listen, I invite you to notice any reactions, thoughts, emotions, and felt sense of things in your body. Notice where you open up or close down and resist. Notice any assumptions, beliefs, or judgments that might arise. Are they true? Consider suspending them as you practice opening to other perspectives. Notice any deep insights or calls to actions that may arise. If you and I were having a two-way conversation, what would you be called to say from that deeper part of self? What questions would you have? Feel free to write those comments and questions in the comments. Within all your arising, what could life be trying to tell you? If you resonate with this podcast, please share it with your friends. And if you get a sense that I may be able to help you understand or navigate what is arising in your life, visit my webpage at www.elevatelife to find other ways to connect and work with me. I hope you enjoy the podcast. World's in a interesting place, isn't it? Oh, interesting is a fairly mild word. As we notice what's arising out there, I think, well, I know that many people are shaking in their boots. There's so much going on. It feels like the world's gone insane and that we're heading for a doom, the end of times, in a sense. There's so many crises, so many existential crises and meta crises. I don't know because I haven't lived before this time. I don't know if it's any worse now than it used to be in some years ago. Maybe when there was the World War, things must have felt like they were falling apart. But we never had the capacity up until the last 100 years to actually destroy ourselves through nuclear weapons or other things. And now we're facing this climate change. We're facing maybe a fear of a totalitarian kind of system and government and censorship and suppression of ideas and thought, like the Inquisition. There's crisis of trust. There seems to be more crime or certainly more drugs and people getting addicted. There's so many more potential diseases that the narrative is threatening us with, and our food is not as clean as it used to be with all the chemicals that we're putting into the environment and our crops. And there's new diseases, autoimmune diseases, and other things rising, polarized. There's AI, and what's the threat of AI? And there's wars going on, and another threat of nuclear war. Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, what do we do? What do we do about this? There's many people that I watch and see that are trying to find solutions out there, trying to fix people out there. If only they changed, then we'd be okay. If only we stopped the governments, the deep state, um, those people, those whatever, those others. Um, that's one way to change it and focus your life and activism out there, and progress, I guess, will be made there. But personally, I don't think we will make any real progress until we take responsibility for the changes and the inner work for ourselves to come into peace within ourselves and do that inner work. That's what we can do. As long as we're projecting some kind of hate, it might be hate of hateful people, like racists and things like this, or whatever othering, blaming and shaming our leaders, etc. As long as we're in that place of blaming others, we'll find no peace. How can we expect peace and progress out there when we're not finding that peace and progress and sensibility and common sense inside? And letting go of I'm right and you're wrong, but entering into some kind of dialogue. So, yes, we do need to work out there in the world around these crises, but I think we have to work inside first with our inner world, our shadow, our beliefs, our traumas and emotions, both from our lives and our ancestral trauma. But there's also this space of between. So there's the inner work and there's the between work. My relationship with you. Unless we can reestablish or build the capacity to connect at deeper and deeper levels and perspectives and honor the perspective and the story that our friend or enemy comes into the room with, unless we can truly listen to that, listen to understand and understand their story and what they've gone through to take them to this place and listen with compassion, then I don't know that I see any help or hope for the world. These are the capacities I think we need to build up within ourselves and take full responsibility for what we're bringing into the world. It's about reconnecting, reconnection, and taking responsibility for the world that we want to create and co-create. If there's one problem in this world, I think it's separation. It's our view that we are separate from each other rather than dependent on planet, dependent on our fellow human beings, dependent on the animals versus domination and extraction kind of energy that we've got into in our industrial age and the information age out for me. So there's lots of work to do. And it's all about connecting and reconnecting, understanding the wholeness of ourselves versus the separation of ourselves. So reconnecting with self, reconnecting with others, and stopping this othering, um, this disconnection kinds of energies that we're doing, sitting down and coming back into relationship with each other. This is also a journey from a left brain view of the world, which breaks things down to parts and pieces and tries to build and fix the world from a mechanical kind of thinking of the world versus a right brain thinking, which sees the world in its wholeness. It's about relationship and it has a particular quality that it also invites insight. If there's a hope for the world, it's it's true insight. And when we go into our shadows, if we connect and re-embrace and break that separation with the shadow, bring the shadow, the parts that we've dismissed and pushed away, those parts that we of us that we don't like or have no access to, then if we do that and find our own wholeness, then we could change the world. And insight pops in through that shadow process, but it also us, opens up our minds to insight into new ideas, new ways of doing things that we could not grasp before. The left hemisphere tries to grasp within the same worldview of rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. The right brain, if we're sitting in silence and creating space for open mindedness, it the answers kind of drop in. This is the technology that these geniuses like Einstein got connected to. So that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm interested in this podcast is collapsing that sense of separation with each other and moving forward with new insight because we're creating spaces and the understanding of each other that new insight can drop in. I don't know where this podcast is going to go overall, but I hope it allows new insight for me as I share what is arising for me. I invite you to look at the various perspectives I have, not from a judging right or wrong, because I'm going to be wrong sometimes. I'm sure of it. But I want to invite you into other perspectives and I invite you as you're listening to this and elsewhere in your life to step into the shoes of the others that you're doing and reconsider your story and your assumptions with me in this podcast. And together, my hope is that we can create a better world, one that's more connected, more loving, full of trust with each other. And uh, that kind of world is where I want to live. Thanks for listening.